big, giant mechanical lizards that spit fire, snort like they're actually breathing. I mean, they actually have breath coming out of these mechanical nostrils, and roar. Roar. Why does a robot need to roar? Really? Why?
We are recording.
Benchmark for bad movies for me is Napoleon Dynamite. Napoleon Dynamite is the only movie I've ever watched where, when it was finished, I said, there's 2 hours of my life I will never get back. I would rather rewatch Jaws 4 than watch Napoleon Dynamite. Having said that, Transformers: Age of Extinction is almost tied for first place with Mark Wahlberg, Kelsey Grammer, Titus Welliver, and a bunch of other what should have been decent actors, voice actors, John Goodman. Oh my God, did they make a bad movie? Holy smokes, how do these things make money?
Welcome back to Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches. I'm Noah.
And I'm Richard.
I'm surprised you didn't go, and I'm irate.
I'm not irate, but holy smokes. What a bad movie. I don't even know where to begin in the history of badness. I think the thing that comes to mind the most is early in the movie, there is a battle, and there's the robot cars, and there's the fighting, and there's the flying, and there's the humans who never get hit by anything and all the debris that's flying. And they are in what can best be described as a debris storm. It looked like a tornado going through. There's little black pieces of crap flying everywhere. And the actors are walking through it. Nothing's bouncing off their faces. They're not even squinting. They don't get dust in their eyes. They don't hold their hands up like they're walking through the stuff. They just stand there and they walk through. And I thought, how clearly this was CGI, put in after the fact.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking maybe, just maybe they decided to put it in after they filmed this scene. They couldn't even tell the actors to pretend like they're walking through a storm. No, they couldn't do that. So you got all this debris flying everywhere, and they're just walking through. Don't get hit by the flying Volkswagen. And
there you go.
Oh my goodness! They yeah, really, really bad. Now this had to be. I mean, just the whole. This had to be some animator's wet dream from their childhood. Big, giant mechanical lizards that spit fire, snort like they're actually breathing. I mean, they actually have breath coming out of these mechanical nostrils, and roar. Why does a robot need to roar? Really? Why?
Oh boy. So, the Transformers was a cartoon series that was developed by Hasbro in the 80s alongside the revamped G.I. Joe series.
Basically, from 1984 to 1988, this cartoon was a 30-minute commercial, ironically with commercial breaks, for their toy line.
Yes.
That's all it was.
That's all it was. It followed the He-Man model of making a cartoon based off the toy line. And yeah, it did serve as a commercial. But it wouldn't have gotten 4 seasons if it didn't work.
Oh, it did work.
It worked.
Yes.
And not only did it work just from a selling action figures perspective, it also worked from the stories and the life lessons and everything. Like, they actually did try, because there was a lot of controversy when it came out about it being a commercial for kids. It was essentially a 30-minute advertisement for toys.
Right.
So the animators and the storyboarders and the the writing team, they worked really hard to start putting in lessons and stuff that they could, so they could justify making the TV show, and it started working. You pull up on the front, you just slide it forward. This is a reissue of the original Bumblebee toy from that time period. There you go. I am a big fan of the Transformers series, as you can tell. I have watched all of the original cartoon, the original animated movie. I have watched several of the follow-up TV shows. This franchise, and I've read the comic books. This franchise has continued to endure to this day. So my big question,
as a parent and as your teacher,
my big question is, why do they keep making these live-action movies? Because these live-action movies, as you said, are awful. The original series and the original stories and everything, yes, they were kids, they were Saturday morning cartoons, and they were, at the end of the day, commercials for the toy line. As a matter of fact, they made a motion movie, full-length cartoon feature that took place between the second and the third season of the TV show. The entire purpose of the movie was to kill off the original cast and introduce the new toys into the toy line.
Is this one of them?
No, that's from a different one. These are all like characters from the original series. But the thing about it is that they severely underestimated the impact these characters had on the audiences watching them.
Okay.
So they literally killed off Optimus Prime, Megatron, and a bunch of the original characters from the first two seasons because they were phasing out their toys on store shelves and they were reintroducing new ones. The backlash from that movie, the amount of letters written to the show writers, to the studio, to Hasbro, from kids legitimately upset and crying in the movie theater about Optimus Prime dying, made them do a complete 180. It was so bad that G.I. Joe was supposed to get a movie, much like the Transformers did, where they were going to kill off the main characters from the first toy line and introduce the new ones. They completely scrapped the theatrical release of that movie. They completely rewrote it and redid it, and they put it out direct to video because they were like, oh, these kids actually like these characters.
They were killing off the G.I. Joe characters from the second toy line.
Yeah.
Because G.I. Joe originally was a 12-inch doll with painted on hair.
Yep.
And one hand was like this, and one hand was like this, and they were inflexible.
Yep.
Because they could hold a carbine.
Yep.
Right? That was your Uncle Mike's G.I. Joe.
Yep.
My G.I. Joe, second generation, 12-inch character, lifelike hair, beard and mustache, and it was called G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip. That's
yeah, I remember.
Because they had rubber hands.
Yeah.
And you could do a whole bunch of different things with them.
Yep.
And you could, but it was G.I. Joe. It was this soldier. And then they turned G.I. Joe into a team.
Yep.
And that's the one where they developed all the different characters and, and they started doing all that stuff. Transformers came out in 84. In 84, I was in the Navy.
Yep.
I was on a sub. I was out to sea. In fact, for the entire...
And you were an adult.
And I never saw it. And then I was out of country for all of 87, 86 and 87. And there was no TV.
Yep.
So I completely missed this Transformers craze and this phase. And if I ever saw it on TV, it was like, kids show. And I did not know the impact. But I'm not surprised in this. It may be a kids show, but what we've seen with Clone Wars is that you can write really, really good stories, and you can create characters that your audience will connect with.
Yep.
And if you have talented voice actors, as long as it's not Casey Kasem, voicing Optimus Prime, you can really have that effect, and apparently they did.
Yep.
2007, the first Transformers movies comes out, and then they
Yep.
they just roll from there. I can't connect with it in any way, shape, or form. I mean, I gave it a fair, honest try,
you did.
but I had to turn the movie off a week ago after 10 minutes and say, yeah, I can't do this, right? And so how many messages did we have this week? Are we going to cover this or not?
Yeah.
And then I got up this morning and I was like, well, I have work to do around the house. I'm going to put this on in the background.
Yeah.
So I'd watch a little bit, work a little bit, listen to it, watch a little bit, work a little bit. I got through it only because I could get up and do a load of laundry.
Yeah, and give yourself that break.
Yeah.
And to be fair, you watched what is probably one of the worst in the series.
Well, so, yeah, and you had told me that in advance. And how do you know that of the Transformers series, this is the worst one? It's the only one that's free on Amazon Prime. And I'm thinking, are people still paying to see the other Transformers movies? Really? Can they be that much better? Because of the limited amounts of stuff I've seen with Transformers,
Yep.
It follows the same line as a Godzilla movie. Pretty much does. Good guy, bad guy, rubber suits, fighting, right? Going through the town, people running through the streets, and then they fight and buildings fall over, and then there's those flying kicks, and I noticed some. They did a really good job of some martial arts moves with the robots. You know, you see all that stuff. But the bad guy gets the upper hand. The bad guy's about to kill the good guy. The good guy somehow survives. This time it was the 17-year-old girl putting a tow truck hook on a sword and pulling it out of Optimus Prime's chest.
Yep.
And then he's able to just get up and keep fighting like he didn't just have a massive sword through his chest. And clearly, they're all the same. What made this one so bad? I mean,
so
how much better can the other ones be?
Here's the thing: is that the first one was just a simple plot. Because if you look at the original plot for the original stuff, okay, Transformers is always a war story. You got good guys on one side, you got bad guys on the other. And as the series grows and develops, and they make new content, and they make a new series for the new audience, the new generation of kids, they start to add some quirks here and there, and they start to bend the rules and like show, hey, maybe not all the bad guys are all that bad, and not all the good guys are all that good. They start playing around with it. The series has been blessed by enough longevity to do that. The original movie, I think people were just excited to see it come to live action. People were really happy
I can believe that.
Because Optimus Prime's voice actor is a guy named Peter Cullen, and he's pretty prolific in the voice acting industry.
Okay.
You would potentially know him as the modern voice, not the original voice, but the modern voice of Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. So
I've probably heard him, but
you probably heard him because he,
Eeyore. Eeyore's wonderful. He is. He's so delightfully mopey.
And people were excited, and then Megatron, I think it was either in this movie or the movie following it, the movie you watched, is voiced by his original actor, who is another prolific one by the name of Frank Welker. And I don't have his resume up right now, but Frank Welker is a pretty prolific voice actor with a lot, and I mean a lot, of voice acting credits on his resume, which just makes you wonder how they got so many high talent to make a commercial for kids. In that movie I talked about, the original cartoon one, they got Leonard Nimoy to play the bad guy.
Well, you know what? I asked myself as I was watching this movie today. You've got Kelsey Grammer and you've got Mark Wahlberg. And both of them pretty decent careers. Why are they doing this movie? And the only thing I can think of is paycheck.
Yeah.
It's the
No,
it's
it's pretty much just paycheck.
It's
for
the
him.
Michael Caine, rule because
Yeah.
he's such a good
They
actor,
got
but
Anthony
he didn't do Jaws 4.
Hopkins for the 5th. Anthony Hopkins was in the 5th movie,
Really?
if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Funds must have been
Yeah.
getting low.
And this video will probably come out closer to the time where they're making another one, and it's Rise of the Beasts, and it's the Beast Machine. I didn't bring any of the Beast Transformers with me. I
Well,
should have, but
you know-
and it's like you're already drawing from it, and you're ruining the second TV series, which was even better than the first one, because that's the one where they actually had like plot lines and like running stories and character development, and it was actually really good. It has a pretty raw line where one of the underlings of the good guys, one of the like rebellious types, is like, I'm not going to go out there. I'm going to get shot. Why don't you do it? And the leader goes, okay. And he does it. And then he does what he was trying to order the other guy to do. And then he comes back and he goes, I would never order you to do something that I myself am not willing to do. And I'm like, I saw that first when I was getting ready to go for my Eagle Scout. I used that line on my Eagle board. And apparently it worked.
Oh, the things you learn years later.
So there's good stuff to be had. So like as the movies kept progressing,
not in this movie.
not in that movie. Then the first movie, it was just a simple like, hey, good guys, bad guys, kid wants to help the good guy robot save the day. Second movie, they gave lore to it. They gave backstory. They were searching for an ancient artifact, and it was an intriguing enough plot to stand watching it. The third one is where they started to go downhill. This is the fourth one where it was like, oh.
Well,
And then, 5, 6, and whatever else is out now is just kind of like, oh my gosh, why are you all still making these?
I will never watch another Transformers movie again.
Yeah,
I mean,
don't
not
blame
even
you.
if I have nothing to do on a Saturday and it pops up. I'll
Yeah.
just read a book. It's just that bad. Now, why will they keep making them? Because we keep making another generation of 12-year-old boys. And let's face it, that's the age, that's the age group that this is aimed at. I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm watching these people run and jump, and they never get cut. They never get hit by flying debris. There's not a sprained ankle, right? There's no shrapnel. Nobody gets hit by a stray bullet. They fall from tremendous heights. They don't even get up with a sore back. I mean, honest to goodness, just one of those falls, and I'd be getting up off the ground going, ooh,
Yeah.
Nothing. Nothing. These, and I was just like, I would sleep for a week after that.
Yep.
I really wanted to see the ship make it to outer space with the people on it. Because it wasn't airtight. There were holes in it everywhere. I really, really was rooting for the ship to make it into space so that all of those people would just go and then get sucked out into the vacuum of space, and we see them float away and the credits can roll. I was hoping for that. I was rooting for that. I was like, no, don't make it back to Earth.
Oh my gosh.
I was disappointed.
And we can't talk about this without talking about the director of the first 4 movies, who then moved on to executively produce it. And
Wasn't it Michael Bay?
It was Michael Bay.
Okay.
Best known for butchering the story of Pearl Harbor in the 90s and writing a story where Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck stop a meteor from crashing into Earth by being oil drillers and sending oil drillers and training them as astronauts and shooting them up to the asteroid so they can drill and split it in half. I think it was Armageddon's what it's called.
That's the one where Bruce Willis is going into space saying goodbye to his daughter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same guy.
I've seen 10 minutes of that.
Yep.
Yeah, I turned that one off too.
When Ben Affleck looked at him and said, hey, why are we oil drillers being trained as astronauts and not astronauts being trained as oil drillers? Michael Bay looked at him and said, shut the up. I told you That's who's directing these films.
way back when when I was teaching you, I told you, don't feel like you ever have to finish a book. I mean, unless I've assigned it for a reading assignment. But if you start reading a book and the book is bad, put it down, right? I've never made it through The Hobbit.
Yeah.
I've never made it through Lord of the Rings. People love Tolkien. I just don't get his writing style at all. Now I know that right now there's people screaming and throwing things at their computer
Don't worry,
screens,
they're in the
but,
comments, typing away.
I feel the same way about movies. There's a lot of movies I'm like, no, I'm never going back to that.
Yeah.
The only problem with that is in my Amazon feed, it says, keep watching, and you can see all the movies I've bailed on in the first 10 minutes. Oh, and it's a long list of movies, too. I mean, if it's a good movie, you'll capture my attention right away. The only reason I finished this one was because I kind of felt like I had to.
So we could talk about it.
So that we could talk about it, and this is almost a Napoleon Dynamite bad. That's it. That's what I got. I mean, it is ridiculous beyond belief.
It's just the movies. The reason, and here's the thing, to answer the question that I've been asking, why do these movies keep getting made? It's because they keep making money.
Yes,
but
ultimately. Yes.
That ultimately brings up the next question, which I have, is who is still watching these? Who? Who of you? Is it you? Timmy, is it you? Timmy, you need to stop. Timmy, you need to. If you don't stop, I'm gonna come find you.
I already answered the question.
Yeah, it's 12-year-olds.
As every generation gets it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, Timmy, stop it.
Well, so there is art and there is money, and we've talked about the cash grab sequels. These are a series of cash grab sequels, because if you take a look at Incredibles 2, and we had that discussion, it's going to be linked up here, it's going to be down there.
Yep.
They took their time. They took their time and wrote a tremendous story.
Yep.
I could almost buy a series like the Transformers if they could write a better story. But I don't think... Okay. These creatures are how old? Centuries? Centuries ago? In a planet far, far away.
This one.
Somebody created a Ford truck. And they sent that Ford truck to Earth. And coincidentally, on Earth, we developed trucks that just look just like it. And Corvettes. And Volkswagens.
Wait, now I'm getting hurt. Now I'm hurt. They're not Ford trucks on Cybertron. They're alien vehicles. They just are able to adapt to Earth technology and disguise themselves. That's why they're robots in disguise. Everything I said is 100% factual, but there's no way I could say that unironically in this context.
I'm sorry to stomp on your childhood there, dude, but yeah, this one lost me completely.
But here's the thing. I agree with you on the movies. The movies are awful. The live-action movies are awful. And it saddens me even more because the cartoons are so good.
Okay, so here's the interesting...
There's a cartoon, it's called Transformers Prime. I would say that alongside Beast Wars are like the best the Transformers series has to offer outside of the comic books, and I would say Transformers Prime more than anything else. Transformers Prime is in that, because it came out in the same era, is in that type of era as the Clone Wars, the Avatar: The Last Airbender. They put effort into it. They put story arcs. They had the characters grow. All the robots have different personalities. They're extremely unique looking, and they have backstories and histories, and they have to work together and overcome biases, and it's a really good show for kids. And then you just give Michael Bay $50 million to go play with CGI fireballs,
and they give the hunter a metallic cigar. God. Which at one point in the movie, he spits out, reverses it, catches it in his mouth.
And it's a 50 cal bullet.
That never blew up in his mouth, and blew the back of his head off. Which would have really made the story interesting for me.
You know what? That's a...
So
you know what? It's a funny concept, though. You gotta... It's imaginative.
Okay.
It's a funny concept.
You know what? As we're getting near the end of this episode here, I just had a thought, and this is kind of a fun one. Some of the movies that you have seen, and some of the movies that we've talked about, are shows that I showed you because they were from either my childhood or my early adult years, and I wanted to share them with you.
Yeah.
And so, when you sit down with your kids and you want to share your childhood with them...
it's not going to be the Transformers movies.
Okay, there we go. Man, I feel slightly redeemed.
It'll be the TV shows.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Transformers, Age of Extinction. That was the subject.
The entire Transformers movies.
You were right.
If you've watched one... You've watched them all. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Yep.
All right.
You warned me that, and I understand.
If you've watched one of the live-action Transformers, you've watched them all.
Okay.
Because they're pretty much the same thing.
Gotcha.
They're not worth it. They're not worth it. I would, if you actually have any interest, because I love the concept of giant robots fighting each other. Not people in giant robots fighting each other. Giant robots fighting each other of their own accord.
It's funny you should say that, because I was just thinking about Power Rangers when you...
And Pacific Rim,
right,
Yeah. But Transformers, because they're living creatures. They're living robots. If you like the concept, go check out some of the cartoons, because the cartoons are actually pretty good. Transformers Prime specifically.
I'll take your word for it.
Take my word for it.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in to Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches.
Anything else you want to torture us with, let us know in the comments below, and we'll rage about it in a video.
Well, if you really want to torture me, pick something, because I'll watch it.
Napoleon Dynamite?
No.
1,000 subscriber special?
No. Oh, no.
Million subscriber special?
Maybe 1 million. But
get us to 1 million subscribers, and we'll do Napoleon Dynamite.
I do not like you anymore.
Subscribe for more content like this. I promise there are videos about topics we like.
Thanks for tuning in today.
We'll see you later.
I want to see the playback on this one relatively quickly. God, that was painful. It's the first time I've ever done a beer in the middle of a broadcast.
Really?
Oh, I had to.
That's beer? I thought that was soda.
There was no way.
I was wondering why you were getting red.
There's no way I was getting through this without a little anesthesia.
You didn't offer me one.